Hello! It's another COVID mode review. So there's no finding somewhere nice to stand and start talking to you about the car. Now this is going to be a quick one because I'm using video that Audi would normally give me to use on a launch, but there was no launch. So this is the Q7 video. So it's a quick one. There'll be a longer one for the 50 TDI. But I am driving the new Q7 45 TDI. Now, this used to be the 160 kilowatt before this facelift. So I used to say that this was the car that Audi didn't really want you to buy because it was about 100 grand, or just under. It was 99,900 or something. And it was kind of nicely spec'd. But it wasn't like, oh my goodness, I must have it spec. You know what I mean? That kind of car. And it was only another 7 grand and you were in the 200 kilowatt, which is now the 50 TDI and is now 210 kilowatts. Things have changed. So this is now about 102 grand, just a little bit under. And it's a bigger gap now to the 50, which has more stuff. So this has got 19-inch wheels, very attractive, very nice. It's got 170 kilowatt engine, which will get you to 100 in 7.3 seconds, which is not messing about. 8-speed automatic, all-wheel drive. Now, what's changed, and this explains the $2,000 price increase, is you've now got this new dash setup, which is from the Q8, and it's very similar to the A7 and all the new stuff, and it's really nice. I love these screens. So you got virtual cockpit, also standard. You got the 11.1 MMI screen, and then the smaller 8.6 inch, I think it is, screen down here for all the climate control and scratch pad and that kind of thing. It's really, I love this interior because you turn it all off and it all just goes black, and I really like that. It's a really nice update to the interior. It's got all the right bits and pieces, and it's still got the really nice full width air outlets for the climate control. 3-zone climate control, which I think the Q7 already had. But it's a really nice cabin, and somehow Audi has liberated another 11 centimeters of cabin space, and they say there's more headroom, which is all very nice. But you know, it wasn't a small car. And in Australia, 7 seats is standard, and you get this cool electrically operated rear row. Look, it's not the best rear row. You know, you want an X7 if you want more space, or a Land Rover Discovery. But it gets the job done for most people who rarely use that final row. I have just talked to so many people that have 7-seat SUVs who just want a 7-seat SUV. It's like, you don't need that, get a 5-seat, don't be an idiot. Now, it's also got air suspension as standard. Really, really nice, very comfortable. Air suspension, I find in some cars, gets into this awkward kind of movement as it's driving along. This, you actually have to check it's got air suspension. So it raises and lowers depending on a few things, which mode you're in. It's also self-leveling, so if you load up the back, it'll pump it up so it keeps the car flat. Look, it's very comfortable. This is a lovely car to drive, and this engine is so strong. I actually can't think of a good reason why, like, you wouldn't buy the 50 TDI for the engine. It is, you know, a bit more powerful, but you know, torque-wise, like it knocks 0.8 of a second or something off the Sprint to 100, which, you know, isn't why you buy a Q7, but I can't see a particular reason to buy for the engine. You'd buy it for the spec. There's also a third Q7 you can buy now, which is the S-Line, which has honking great 21-inch alloys. But anyway, so we're talking about this one, the 45. Look, I think now there are even fewer reasons, well, there are now fewer reasons to buy the 50, whereas before I kind of went, well, you tick a couple of options and you were at the price of the old 200 kilowatt, and that meant that you kind of switched to that by default, unless you were happy with the absolute bog standard 160. But the 45 is so well spec'd that, you know what I mean? Like, you are not missing out with this car. And I think that's a really nice kind of shift. It's got 19-inch alloys, it rides really well, it's always driven well. There's still loads of options, but you know, with the Matrix LEDs, basically fully digital cockpit, fully digital cabin, I can't think of a reason to, you know, I think you're going to have a harder time justifying going up to the 50. I'm definitely not saying don't buy the 50, get what you want, but now this is a car I think more people will absolutely consider, and I'm okay with that. And there is a kind of a $9,000 gap now, whereas it used to be about $6.5, $7,000. It's very comfortable. I really like the new face. I didn't mind the old one. A lot of people complained about the old one. They said it was too timid, but I was fine with it. I didn't mind it at all. You know, very Audi sleek kind of, nothing too shouty. I mean, this isn't meant to be a Lamborghini Urus, and it's meant to be an elegant, good-looking 7-seat SUV, and Audi nailed it. So it's got the new front grille, it's got new headlights, Matrix LEDs. The rear, I actually think the rear looks quite a bit better too, with the new lights and the nice bar across the back. Lovely new alloys. And look, we've been driving this around town, and it's, you know, started with 1,000k range and we're down to 780, and we're not even down to 3/4 of a tank. I mean, so, you know, like, it's got a big range, and that's a really handy thing to have, you know, so you're not constantly going and filling up. It's diesel, yeah. If you don't like diesel, well, you're stuffed, because that's how they come. And it's still, you know, it still stays right with the Merc and the X5, the BMW X5. I think it's definitely still with those two cars. But I think, you know, if you're very much in the city, because it's slightly kind of narrower and a little bit lower than both of those cars, I think it's probably a bit more practical for the city, if there is such a thing as a practical 7-seat SUV for the city. I've always really liked the Q7 in this generation. The first generation I hated. I thought it was bloated. It was a bit nasty to drive. I thought it looked really deliberately overbearing, and I didn't like that about it. And yeah, it was just big and heavy and ripped through tires and all of that kind of thing. Whereas this seems a bit, just a more sensible weight. I mean, it's still not light, but it's a more sensible weight. Great engine transmission combination, doesn't use much fuel, is really easy to maneuver. So yeah, it's a quick drive of the Audi Q7 45 TDI, or more to the point, a quick review. And yeah, I'm a fan. The only petrol Q8 is the RS Q8, which has a... oh no, sorry, there's a Q7, so you can't even get a petrol Q7. There's no petrol Q7s.